This video is intended to help you create your learning or choice board for this lesson in Module 4. So as always on the lesson page, there's information to read, videos to watch. I provided some examples of different choice boards that you can look at. And then I also added a resource I came across the other day, 75 different tools and apps teachers can use to support formative assessment. If you're not used to using any of these, don't start now, but do bookmark the site perhaps to explore later on. And so here are the directions or the requirements for the project. So I started one just to get started. I didn't want to go from scratch here. So what I've done is I've created a table that I'm going to start filling in for my choice board. So it's basically 3 steps. Create your table, add your information in there, and then the final step is just to use the different features in Google Docs to make it as appealing as possible. So the first thing I did was I inserted a table, and I did a 3x3, and I'll show you how I manipulated that middle row. The requirement is only a 2x2, so for those of you that are brand new to this concept, don't think you have to have 6 different activities. So for this middle row, I wanted a place for instructions. So what I did is I merged those cells together. I'm going to unmerge them just to show you that process. So I just click and drag, and then right click and do merge cells. So now I've got a spot where I can provide instructions for the students right on the document. I just typed in activity 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to go back in and fill that in, and I'm going to give you some ideas on that. And then I like images or graphics on my choice boards because I think it is more appealing. And so I did something just by using the draw feature in Google Docs. So I just did insert drawing, new, and I'll show you how I did this. I'm going to edit this one. And I simply just used the shape tool and selected the circle. Then once I had it selected, I changed the fill color. It comes in a blue, and I changed it to white. I changed the outside line color, and I changed the border weight to 8. That gives it a little bit more pop. So just that simple, I've got an image I can use in my document here. Save and close it. And then what I did is I simply copied it. So use your shortcuts, of course. And then I'm going to paste it in here and edit it, clicking twice or using the edit button, and change the number from 1 to 3. So very quickly, I can have 6 images that my students can tell me which projects they selected. I selected 1 and 3, as they're turning them in, whatever. So it will help us communicate. At the top here, I just put this in from my information. You don't have to have this. These are what are called the 4 C's of 21st learning skills for students. So I want to try and use as many of these in my activities as I can. You're not expected to use all of them, but try and think, how are ways that I can let my students that are more creative show their learning instead of just everything being a written activity. So, could they create a video or an audio response to something and submit the link to that video or audio response? Again, you'll need to use activities that your students can do and that you are also comfortable using. For collaboration, could they work with a partner to come up with something? Communication. I was looking at an activity, a book review, a book study, kind of a non-traditional book report, and they suggested writing or emailing the author of the book and asking questions or sharing information. So that would be something that would work with their communication skills. So very quickly, I just used 3 of those 4. in my choice and activity board. Again, I encourage you to use as many of these as you can. So I've got my information here. If your activities aren't perfectly refined right now, don't worry about it. Dream big, put down what you'd love to have your kids do in a perfect world. Some of them can be simple things that you would have them do anywhere. They might create a poster, and they could take a picture of their poster, completed poster, and submit it to them. If they can't work with a partner, maybe they can work with a family member. So you have to be aware of, obviously your audience, their skill set, and what they have available um, to do if they're going to be doing this from home, which is what we're starting the school year with. So I've got my table done. I've got my activities written down, and I'm ready to just kind of do my third step, which is just fancy it up a little bit here. So I'm going to go into the file page setup, but I just got a message about trying to connect. Okay, that's always fun. And go down to page setup. And remember, you can change from portrait to landscape. Margins, I want to have as much space on my document as I can have. So I'm going to go, 1/4 of an inch here. And I can play with this as much as I need to. And maybe I want a page color background. Now, be very careful. If you use these really dark colors, you may have to change the text from black to white so that it's readable. So be very aware of readability when you're creating your projects. You don't need unnecessary questions like, I can't read activity 2, the font is too difficult to read or it's too small. It's going to need to be very readable for your students and perhaps their parents. All right, so that's just using page setup to quickly add some more interest to my document. I can also right-click and go to table properties to do some other changes here. Here's my table border. Maybe I want to do a different color, and I want to change the thickness of that border. So let me go ahead and do 6 point just for fun. I can always come back in here and change it and click OK. So already with those simple things there, my lesson is really popping. So take advantage of those features and create something that's visually interesting to your students also. Also, if you're going to link out to another Google app, maybe you have a Google Doc that you want them to put some information on, link to that document. Make sure the rights on that document are set correctly. There is a way to force copy for students to have their own copy of their own document. Depending on the level of your student, you may just tell them, create a new document and track your activities as you complete these. So again, it's knowing your audience and knowing the abilities of your students. But just be aware of rights, etc. Now, when you get it all done, you're going to want to distribute it to students. You can convert this to a PDF. And then your links still work in a PDF, which is awesome. You can just share the link and post the link to your delivery system, if it's Canvas or if it's Google Classroom, you can share the link. Again, make sure if you're just working with students, just do Clark County School District. If you think a parent might want to see it, you can do anyone with a link. That's a broader thing. And then again, set the rights appropriately. Viewers probably correct, copy the link, and that link can be then either added to Google Classroom and or Canvas. All right, so those are just a few ideas on how you can then share your project with others. Contact me if you have any questions about what content to add to your project. Of course, your activities need to tie directly to learning goals, content standards, etc. But if you need a little bit of help, don't hesitate to reach out, and I'd be glad to brainstorm with you to find activities that you can use with your students, or direct you to some websites that might help you do the same thing. Take care, and I look forward to looking at your projects.